We got Patrick CC investigating the biggest Pokemon scam. I saw Logan Paul in a thumbnail. Like said, this show is about exposing, bro. 1 million in 4 days. Like said.
PSA has the power to turn a singular Pokemon card into a multi-million-dollar asset. When Logan Paul's ultra-rare Pikachu Illustrator was given a PSA 10 grade, it became worth over $16 million. A single grade
For a card, said that is so crazy.
Point lower and the card's value drops to 1.4 million. But when one company has the ability to create or erase millions of dollars,
I don't think the only cards I collected was the fucking match attacks cards for United and the Premier League players. I had the World Cup one when it was here in 2010, boy, yeah.
with a single number, there's bound to be corruption. And a recent pattern of major screw-ups has many people suspicious of PSA. They've authenticated cards that were altered to look perfect. Their grading system has been exposed as extremely inconsistent, and they've even admitted to straight up destroying high-value cards during their process. And
that's crazy, boy. That's the one thing you're not supposed to do as a fucking Pokemon grading company. I feel like that's the number one rule, but
they're just the mistakes that we can 100% prove. There are countless grading decisions that happen every single day that are losing people hundreds, thousands, and in extreme cases, millions of dollars. Which is why when you dig deeper into PSA, the more insane it becomes that a multi-billion-dollar industry revolves around a tiny number on a piece of plastic. Before PSA became synonymous with corporate greed, they were actually providing...
How much? So is it only like... So what would the cards be worth before PSA? Like motherfuckers just sold that shit. It was just like out there.
An extremely consumer-friendly service. PSA would...
Like luck. You might get a good one, you might get a not good one.
Stands for Professional Sports...
Did motherfuckers even buy Pokemon cards back then? I feel like that's a new thing only, bruh. People actually collected them back in the day, you know what I'm saying? And actually played. Bruh, I remember in school, in primary school, like say we was playing Pokemon with attack and defense and shit, boy.
Authenticator offered a universal standard to...
This all brought like 3 stacks. This big boy. Fucking cards.
Determine how much a card was worth. Think back to elementary school at the lunch table. Your friend has a bag of chips, and you're willing to give up your ding-dong in exchange for it. The chips aren't objectively more valuable than the ding-dong, but if both of you are satisfied with the trade, then it really doesn't matter. Sports cards and trading cards used to be the same way. Maybe I wanted your Charizard card, and you wanted my Pikachu card. We'd just swap them and...
Oh yeah, they do a trading and shit, and I don't have no fucking Pokemon card, so I couldn't trade and shit, but they was like, yeah, give me that and shit, give me that. Motherfucker, I used to do that with games and shit too, bro. You know what I'm saying? With PSP games, bro, I always used to trade that shit. Yeah, you give me that game, I'll play that game, then give it back to each other, bro. Good times, I say good
be
times.
Done with it. But eventually how rare the cards were became a factor to consider in the trade. All of those factors is what PSA considered to determine how much a card was worth, which resulted in people paying big money for cards in all different niches. PSA essentially created the industry standard guide of what matters when buying or selling cards. In a close inspection, a trained PSA grader validates a card's authenticity, ensuring that it is officially licensed merchandise and not a knockoff. They assess any potential damage such as rips, tears, scuffs, folds, and finally they give a grade to the card's overall condition on a 1 to 10 scale. And at the end they carefully encapsulate the card in a protective case to preserve its condition with a label displaying its name and official PSA grade. Before PSA was rotting the industry from its core, it was actually meant to preserve the integrity of it. But as their power and
they grade it's like not only Pokemon cards, bro. They grade it like everything, I'm assuming, like from sports and shit.
The industry from its
like you get like a signed but how would you grade a signed baseball, bro? There's no grading system. It's 101
core. It was actually meant to preserve the integrity of it, but as their power...
Oh, I could have just let the video play, bro. My bad, Hatchet.
Where an influence grew, they started moving away from being a humble service for hobbyists and developing into a corporation fully fixated on profits. PSA expanded their company beyond just grading cards. They integrated with eBay to create the PSA Vault, which helps store, list, sell, and ship trading cards for their customers. So if you wanted to sell your recently graded card, you could have them take care of the entire selling process from start to finish with little effort. PSA even offered a buyback service where they would purchase the card directly after grading. And some interpret this as kind of a conflict of interest. You're handing a company your card, they're deciding...
Yeah, buyback, bruh. So what did they just say, bruh, it's obvious the scam that you can pull, bruh. You can say as you grade this low grade, then you buy it back and then you give it the actual grade it is and you make profit.
How much
that's crazy.
It's worth, and then they're offering to buy it from you themselves. If they plan on reselling the card for a profit, they have every incentive to convince you it's worth a little less than it actually is. It's like when Rick from Pawn Stars calls in one of his buddies to tell you what your rare artifact is worth, and almost every time, it's worth way less than what you thought it was. From there, PSA's parent company, which is confusingly called Collectors, also acquired rival grading services Beckett and SGC, getting them closer to becoming a monopoly. Today, PSA and its sister companies take up 80% of the total market, with PSA accounting for...
I feel like there's hella monopolies nowadays, with RAM, like technology in general, bruh. Like Sony and shit. Movies, fucking music. There's hell monopolies. With music, there's like 3 companies that own like 90% of all the like, you know what I'm saying?
A whopping 72%. And that dominance comes with an immense responsibility. The trading card market is now a multi-billion-dollar industry, and basically every collector on the planet relies on PSA's labels to determine that each card they received was authentic and in perfect condition. And when PSA makes mistakes, they aren't just minor disputes. They have the potential to be catastrophic errors that can bankrupt a collector. But before we get into that, we all live busy lives. There are so many things to do, and it had slight imperfections, including a black dot on the border as well as a few small scuffs on his jersey. All things considered, the card was still in great condition and received a PSA grade 9. 7 months later, another copy of the card was sold, this time a PSA grade 10, for a price of $28,100. The problem is, these were the same exact card.
For a baseball card. Motherfuckers be...
Natural markings on the back of both were identical.
I never watched a single baseball highlights, not even game highlights in my life, boy. Real shit, except like on the movies and shit. It's the closest.
Meaning that someone had covered up its imperfections and resubmitted it to PSA.
I haven't even seen an image of a baseball game that's not the crowd, I swear, there's no way people actually be playing that shit.
Got a higher grade and made tens of thousands of dollars. PSA is supposed to inspect every card closely before giving it a grade. It checks for scratches, scuffs, and imperfections, but it also ensures that the card is both authentic and unaltered. Like when you and I look at a PSA 8, 9, or 10, we just kind of say, yeah, I mean, it looks perfect. But PSA's job is to notice the tiny things that we never would. Maybe someone repainted a tiny white chip on the edge, or they trimmed a fraction of a millimeter off the border, or they managed to fix a crease that used to be there. And even still, you might wonder,
what the fuck?
Or they managed...
You did this shit on purpose, except. Genuinely, bruh, how do you get it this bad without doing it on purpose?
To fix a crease that used to be there. And even still, you might wonder what the big deal is. I mean, if a card can be restored to pristine condition, then why should it matter if it was original or not? Well, it's because the history of a card is a major factor in its value. To see a card preserved for almost 70 years without a single flaw doesn't just make it worth more money, it's also just objectively cool. And this is not just true for cards, it's really true for about anything that is rare. The flowing hair silver dollar.
Cars. No fucking coin. Ain't nobody give a fuck about a coin, I'm talking about cars. I'm talking about even gaming consoles, etc.
Sold for $10 million.
Microphones even, boy. But a coin. Who the fuck is gonna pay $10 million for a fucking silver dollar, bruh. You got too much fucking money for bruh.
dollars in 2013. That's because this coin was the first dollar coin issued by the United States
I don't give a fuck, sir. Like, that shit don't make it any more cooler, bruh.
federal government in
Let alone it being the US, you know what I'm saying?
1794. Somehow, someway, this little coin was preserved for 220 years. If nobody cared about preserving anything that was rare, then we'd all just buy one-to-one bootlegs. Authenticity matters, and PSA was meant to ensure all aspects of a card were authentic, but they messed up too many times to count. A Billy Maloney card from the early 1900s was purchased for $81 before being altered, regraded, and sold for a $900 profit. A 1952
Damn.
Mickey Mantle card was altered and
Oh my god, you scammed the fuck out of them. I don't even like compared to like this is a crazy, even though it's only $900, I'm saying only that shit's my nigga, give me $900, I'm taking that shit, boy. I'm good for a month, say, you know what I'm saying?
and sold for a
But yeah, boy, that's a crazy scam.
$900 profit.
Even
A
this one here is crazy, boy. But I feel like into what is it, like 50%. This is like way more than 50%.
Before being altered, Mantle card was altered and resold for $14,800. Ironically, a separate Stan Musial card from 1948 had its edges trimmed and sold for a nearly $2,000 profit. By 2019, hundreds of examples of altered cards that PSA had improperly graded had piled up, culminating in a class action lawsuit. The lawsuit went further than accusing PSA of making a few mistakes. It argued that trained graders should have been able to recognize the alteration and alleged that PSA knowingly allowed them to enter the market regardless. The situation became too large for PSA to ignore, and they announced an internal investigation into the matter. Now, to be fair, PSA grades millions of cards every year, and these alterations were done specifically by the seller to deceive trained authenticators into getting a higher grade. It is possible that these specific instances were genuine mistakes, and someone just figured out how to beat the authenticators. But whether PSA approved the cards knowingly or made a genuine mistake, the result for buyers was the same. Altered cards entered the market with legitimate grades that people thought were original and could be sold for far more money than they were worth, which made people start to wonder if that little number.
Where does Logan Paul come into this? I forgot he was on the thumbnail, sir. Why is he? Am I tripping? He was on the thumbnail before, bruh. I remember seeing this video on my homepage, but he changed the thumbnail.
Number in the corner could really be trusted. Sometimes customers are disappointed with the grade their card gets. Maybe they thought it was a perfect 10, but PSA found a small imperfection that bumped it down to a 9. The customer now has two choices. They can accept the result and sell the card, or they can resubmit it to PSA and hope for a better result. Pokemon card collector and YouTuber Pokemon Steven submitted approximately 10,000 cards to be graded by PSA over the past couple of years. A little under 200 of his cards received unsatisfactory gradings. He believed that these cards were actually 10s, so he decided to resubmit them on the off chance that someone had made a mistake, and the results were shocking.
81 PSA 10s from the regrade experiment. 189 cards in total, so 108 cards did not make the cut.
81 of the resubmitted cards were bumped up from a PSA 9 to a PSA 10. That's 42%. But he had not changed the card at all. The corners, the art, the surface were all exactly the same as when he submitted them the first time. The only thing that changed.
So they be yapping, bro. They act like they know shit, but they don't.
Was the grade itself.
Basically.
And as discussed prior, the difference
They're just making it up as it goes, boy.
between these two grades can mean the difference of hundreds,
It's probably why they got caught. You know what I'm saying? Didn't think it out. You know?
thousands, and in extreme cases, millions of dollars. What one inspector views as a 9, the other may view as a 10. And it's starting to seem like the only difference is how lucky you are when your card is being reviewed. PSA's grading system is supposed to be an objective.
Oh, it's different grades too, like the different individuals looking at it. I could see that, bro.
objective measurement of the card's condition, but as more controversies pile up, the grading seems subjective. Just goes to show that people are insane for paying such a massive premium for 10s. PSA is a huge scam, but resubmitting the card could also hurt its value. Another collector submitted over 100 cards to be regraded, 19 were given higher grades, but 34 of them were actually given a worse grade. But why does this happen? I mean, the rules are clear enough. 4 perfectly sharp corners, full original gloss, no stains or no scratches, with a slight allowance for printing imperfections. The problem is that a human grader still has to decide what counts as perfect. Maybe there's a small mark in the artwork that one grader noticed.
Oh, like, this is the one, like the few situations AI might go crazy, boy. You know what I'm saying? Like, get like an AI system that can detect like the exact measurements and shit. That's what AI should be used for, real shit, boy.
Notices while the other one doesn't. What one grader sees as a printing imperfection, another may view as an unnatural defect that bumps its grade down. So now, submitting to PSA is like gambling, especially when you consider the fees associated with this process. Submitting to PSA for grading costs $25.
So you can submit. Oh, hell no, boy. Get the fuck out of my... Nah, boy. I'm just keeping that shit. I'm getting my own sleeve. I'm getting my own shelf. I'm putting it up there, boy. You all don't need to tell me shit, but it has value to me. You know what I'm saying? I ain't spending no fucking... even for $16, $17, boy. For one singular card, except... Not even plural, except one.
$1 per card plus shipping. And they do offer slight discounts for both.
Plus shipping. You out your mind.
Submissions. But think about it, if you get a low grade, your card could be worth less than $25, meaning it costs more to authenticate
this shit is crazy. This scam, you know, except
and grade than it's actually worth. However, if your card is worth more, PSA will charge you insane amounts of money to do the exact same grading as a worthless card. Like Nico, who submitted his rare Mickey Mouse card that was worth...
What the fuck? What is this? Disney cards. You know, this ain't no Pokemon shit, bro.
$20,000 to PSA, only for
Mickey Mouse card. What the fuck? Oh my
them
God.
to charge him $1,000 for his perfect 10 grade. Or Scruffy, who was charged $150 for a 10 grade 2021 Pokemon Sword and Shield Evolving Skies, and $600 for a 9 grade 2002 Charizard Reverse 4.
All this for a little fucking number at the top. If you're not reselling it, bro, I don't see the points in PSA. Like, just keep that shit for yourself.
There's also John, who was
I don't know, bro. It seemed like they're just giving PSA money.
Told by PSA his card was worth $25,000, which is why he needed to pay them $1,000 to authenticate it, but then his card only sold for half the value they claimed it was worth.
Cooper Flat, boy, I would have held on to the shit, I won't lie to you. This whole fucked up, except Cooper gonna be a generator, boy. Cooper Flat been balling, except this thing gonna be worth a lot more, bro.
And no, they didn't give him a $500 discount and say, oops, we messed up. And he still made a great profit, but remember that the grading process for all of these cards is exactly the same. And you don't know what they are going to charge you until after they have already done the service. This has led some collectors to accuse PSA of intentionally having inconsistent grading so people will just keep submitting their cards for additional gradings. This is unlikely considering they've been shown to both overgrade and undergrade cards. Then again,
it seemed to me that whoever they hire into grade, they know they don't have like a good process for that shit, bro, because everybody doing what the fuck they want.
There are stories that make it easy to understand.
That's why everyone getting different prices, different grades and shit.
And why some collectors still remain skeptical.
It says Pilix. I just fucking realized it's fucking Pilix.
The most notable example of this is when a collector named Preston submitted 30 separate Pikachu Zekrom GX cards to PSA for grading. He anticipated that most of them would be perfect 10s, but he was shocked to discover that none of them received a perfect grade, with the vast majority of them receiving PSA 9s. In spite of his disappointment, Preston opted to sell the cards through PSA's buyback service. However,
scammed. Stole that shit.
He
I need to put that on the soundboard, but I stole that
records
shit.
of the serial numbers on his cards and searched them later online to discover that 11 of them had been listed as perfect 10s. Around this time, a PSA 9 of this exact card
Oh, blah, and he sold it for 34, and the PSA 10 is fucking 195, boy. 194.
card was going for around $41, while a
And how much is it for per card? 13, 14. Oh my god. Oh my god. Regular, bulk, hidden multiple, so bulk. Per card 17 per. Oh, now boy, they scammed him. They scammed him. They're crazy. And he sold it for 34.
$200, meaning that PSA bought them from him as a 9 and sold them as a 10, and Preston missed out on around $1,500 for all 11 cards. And this highlights the conflict of interest I mentioned before. The only people who can change a grade are
Oh my god. Oh, I crash out, boy. I fucking crash out, boy. 25K
PSA themselves. So if they are authenticating and buying and selling cards, they could theoretically change the grade of any card to maximize their personal profits on the sale.
As you can see, this is a legendary collection reverse PSA 10 Mankey that's listed on eBay by PSA themselves. But if this card is a PSA 10, then why does the back look like this? Because how are they listing
Oh, nah, boy.
card that looks like this as a PSA 10 on
They didn't even try to hide this shit, though.
eBay through the PSA
I think they got comfortable, like, say, they like Sony, bruh. Too much, they getting lost in the sauce.
eBay account?
They need to get sued more. It's all a scam. I hate that PSA is the one that got popular. However, PSA offered a different explanation. Supposedly, someone at
Yeah, I don't even think about that. Where's other companies that do this? PSA can't be the only companies like PSA. Record grading. Yeah, there is other companies, bruh. But is it like they got like a monopoly over the thing? It's hard for anyone to do good.
At PSA had seen Preston's original post on Twitter. They personally believed that the initial grading was too harsh and conducted a secondary manual review, resulting in updated gradings after Preston had already accepted their offer, which is shady. They conveniently realized that they messed up only after they already bought the cards from him and resold them for a profit. Luckily for Preston, his story got a lot of traction online, and he claims that they privately rectified the situation with him.
What about those that don't get this shit solved, bruh? That don't, you know what I'm saying?
them, which I would hope means
They did. If he didn't get traction, bruh, they wouldn't have done that shit, but they would have just stolen that shit.
that they gave him the money he deserves for the cards he unknowingly undersold to them. But that still doesn't feel like a satisfying conclusion, and it still didn't explain why the cards were undergraded in the first place. A fellow collector claimed that cards tend to be undergraded by PSA when they receive bulk quantities of the same card. I guess the logic is that when you look at the same card over and over again, you maybe start to see imperfections that aren't there, or maybe the same person
That means you're taking into account the cards that you saw before, but if you're rating cards that you're supposed to be like your fucking commentator, bruh. You're supposed to take every game. Okay, no, that's a bad analogy, right? But you're supposed to take every card like a new card, you know what I'm saying?
is just going over all of them and is like, surely they can't all be 10s, so here's a 9. But obviously that would be corrupt and unethical business practices. But most importantly, PSA did not make the situation right with Preston
Unprofessional.
until after he went viral on social media and gave them bad publicity. Was Preston the only person this
What the fuck was that?
has ever happened to? Social media and gave them bad publicity. Was Preston the only person this has ever happened to? Or was he just lucky enough to get attention online?
What the fuck was that, bruh? Am I being crazy, except? There was like static sound coming from somewhere.
And put pressure on PSA to pay him what they owed. But one of the most insane controversies that gained traction online was when PSA admitted they damaged someone's extremely rare card, and many saw this as the final nail in the coffin for their reputation. A man named Brian revealed that his PSA 10 Pokemon card was severely damaged while getting it reholdered by PSA, bumping it all the way down to a grade 6. The card was a sky-splitting Deoxys, an extremely rare card released in limited quantities in 2004.
One thing I do know about Pokemon cards is the regional, because I think, isn't it the original Japanese, bro? All these original ones go for money, boy.
And never printed in English. There were very few copies like this and in his condition, making Brian's card almost impossible to replace. Now, Brian was getting his card reholdered. Basically what this means is he already submitted it before and it got a 10, but he was paying them to crack open the old plastic case and seal the exact same card into a brand new holder.
I want to see something, bro. Match attacks. So where would you sell like these cards, bruh? On eBay? Uh, 2010 World Cup. Cause I had the United one. I don't think the United one will be worth a lot. But it's just like some like specific to United shit. 200, 500, nah, they're not worth that much. But it's a fire shit to just collect, etc. You know what I'm saying? Especially be from South Africa, etc. Buying all the shit. It was fire. 1000, yes, shut the fuck up.
Collectors do this all the time if the slab gets scratched, cracked, or it just looks old. A fresh holder can make an expensive card easier to sell because buyers know the case is brand new and the card had recently been inspected. The problem is that the moment PSA cracks the case open, they're handling one of the rarest cards in the world, and if anything goes wrong, the damage is permanent. PSA acknowledged that they had damaged the card and offered to reimburse Brian the full market value, which they determined to be $20,000. He wasn't happy with this, considering that the same card had sold for up to $45,000 around the same time, with others saying it was worth even more. Multiple people have told me that the Deoxys is $60,000 plus, and I personally have an offer over that. PSA fixed this issue. PSA got the $20,000 figure by averaging all of the recent sales of that same card. And this just seemed like a slap in the face because at best they're offering half and at worst a third of what it's actually.
How did these motherfuckers get popular, bruh? Because it seems to me, since the start of the video, these motherfuckers don't know what the fuck they're talking about, bruh.
Worth. But the problem is they caused the loss of the card and then gave themselves the authority to decide how much that loss was worth. And rather than accepting their deal, Brian took to the internet. Once again, the community was furious, and this specific situation ramped up to a whole new level once Moist Critical made a video about it.
By the way, I think yeah, the thumbnail was just to get motherfuckers to click. Because Logan Paul ain't got nothing to do with this video.
This is where it gets extremely spicy. That card sold only a couple of weeks ago by PSA. And this is where it gets a little conspiratorial,
Shit crazy, boy. I know the Source Electric boy is fucked.
but I think there's a lot of merit to it. There are people that are speculating that they didn't actually damage his card when reholdering it. The encapsulation process, it's a psyop, it's not real. What they're thinking might have happened is PSA, when reholdering that PSA 10 Deoxys that was submitted, they took it and then sold it themselves, and then instead gave him a 6, saying that it was damaged and now it's, it's down to a 6.
I guess PSA now stands for Pro Scam Artists. Critical brought awareness to this dispute far outside the card collecting community, putting PSA under more pressure than ever before. Brian announced they had come to an agreement that he was satisfied with, indicating that he was
Whole bunch of statements after statements, boy.
compensated for the proper market value of his card. By this point, the pattern becomes a bit too familiar. PSA rejected a complaint, the collector went public on the internet, and then the company changed their mind after the story went viral. There are dozens of other examples of PSA destroying their customers' cards, and you have to wonder if these individuals were ever given proper compensation. Probably not, because a massive YouTuber didn't make a video about them. And now I'm just genuinely curious if anyone watching has ever had this happen to them. Like, you submitted a card to PSA and you know for a 100% fact that they messed up your card and then sent it back but hoped that you'd never notice? Comment below if that happened. PSA's grade is supposed to be a symbol of reliability and prestige, but these days their reputation isn't much better than a sketchy
140 years ago, baseball cards were put into cigarette packs to protect the cigarettes from getting damaged. Crazy how valuable they became today. Same with comic books. Obviously not the same story, but it was like, you know what I'm saying, they were cheap as fuck back in the day.
pawn shop, and yet people are
Only even bread, my granny was talking about she spent 2 rand on bread. I was like, what the fuck?
still sending in millions of cards to PSA every single year. But why? Well, the thing is, most collectors don't continue to use PSA because they trust them. They continue because they have no other realistic option. There are other companies that do gradings, but a card with a PSA label can sell for far
My old homie had a rare gold Yao Ming card that just disappeared when he submitted to the post office, and he said they delivered it since a pick, and PSA said they never received it.
more than the same card graded by a competitor. Leaving PSA for another authenticator would significantly cut down the overall value of someone's collection. And with the prices for some of these cards, we're talking about millions of dollars in value right down the drain. Boycotting won't work.
I'm sorry, what the fuck?
These cards
Babe Ruth. He's a baseball player. I know his name. Babe Ruth. You know, we motherfuckers are spending 7.2. Bruh. What are the countries with baseball as #1 sport? Because there's no way motherfuckers actually play this fucking sports except like real shit, bruh. Baseball is now in Cuba, Japan, Dominican Republic. As random as fuck, boy. Okay, so I get Cuba and Dominican Republic, they close. Where the fuck Japan came from, except Nicaragua, Panama, or I'm seeing where like the Caribbean, like South America type vibe, and then randomly Japan and Taiwan, but 7.2 million is crazy though, bruh.
cards, we're talking about millions of dollars
I won't even pay that shit for like LeBron or fuck MJ, but I won't lie to you.
in value right
Or Ronaldo or Messi. I don't give a fuck.
down the drain. Boycotting won't work because all collectors would have to do it together. The market has decided that PSA is the gold standard, and it's almost impossible to go against what the market wants. As long as buyers seek out PSA graded cards, sellers will continue to sell them, which means that they will just have to deal with whatever nonsense comes with working with PSA. This is why monopolies are supposed to be illegal. But above all else, PSA is just another example of how any hobby or niche eventually gets hijacked and exploited by corporations. The same thing happened
The World Cup just happened, they said that's what
with
I'm
sneakers. Any regular person who wants to
and
occasionally maybe
I won't lie, that's what came to my mind at first, but the World Cup came more to my mind because it just happened.
once a year or every other year buy a nice pair of sneakers has to deal with insane
Yo, I remember the hypebeast era was when it was the worst, say. Like everything was like at least $1,000.
price gouging,
dollars, boy, dollars.
availability of sizes because collectors or resellers pay thousands of dollars just to let a pair collect dust on
And
a
you couldn't
shelf.
even know.
Shoes turned into a status symbol, and
Yeah.
now it's trading cards. Actually playing with your Pokemon card could scratch the artwork, and wearing your sneakers could scuff them up, which will devalue them, which is ironic because most people buy nice things because they want to actually use nice things, but the only way to protect the value is to avoid enjoying it for what it is. And unfortunately, no hobby is safe from this. It's only going to get worse. Once people begin to put a price on their favorite pastime, they make way for opportunists to take advantage of the hobby and get rich. PSA isn't just a tragic story of an innocent hobby being corrupted, it is a reminder that nothing you love is safe or sacred anymore. And PSA isn't the only business that's built an empire.
So always put like a moral story at the end, bruh. Like this Disney Channel, like say, shows you Patrick, say. This so consistently make bangers, like say, I won't lie to you. I know this show is rolling in the fucking dough, like say. This motherfucker, every week he be posting and 200k, 800k, 500k, 900k, 1 million, 2 million, boy. He doing his thing, like say.